Hello everyone. This presentation is about the sports policy in India. The reason of choosing India's sports policy is because I have a background from India and how with such a vast population the nation runs its sports policy is a big question to understand. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an understanding about India's sporting landscape to their sporting policies while highlighting their best practices and finally identify the challenges and proposing solution to their sporting policy. Following are the broad highlights which we will be going through during the course of this presentation. That is, policy summary, policy analysis, recommendations, and concluding it with reflection. Starting with the history of Indian sports policy, India has a rich history which dates us back to 8,000 years when athleticism was already a part of Indus Valley civilization. The figure by Clark and Mondale helps us to provide knowledge about the pivotal dates that have influenced this policy of sports development in India from between 1947 to 2019. After independence, AICS, that is All India Council for Sports, was established in 1954, which has the role of advising government on national sports policy, funding for national sports federation, and coaching for elite athletes. In 1982, along with the hosting of Asian Games, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, that is MYAS, and Sports Authority of India SAI were established. In the year 1984, the early sports policy of India differentiated sports and physical education by making it two distinctive areas of focus. Moving further, the national policy was first introduced in 1984 and then revised in 2001. So basically, this was the time when more focus was given to the elite sports rather than the grassroots one. And the creation of famous programs like Target Olympic Podium Scheme and the National Sports Development Fund was done under this policy. The 2011 National Sports Development Code in India emphasized sports' role in promoting active lifestyle, child and youth development, and social inclusivity. In year 2019, the Narendra Modi government launched the Fit India movement promoting physical fitness as an integral daily life. Khelo India, which focused on grassroots development, was a part of that initiative. It has to be further understood that there was no update done to the policy of sports for 16 years in the country until the one done in the year 2001. This slide talks about the organizational structure of sports in India. The structure of Indian government in sports can be classified into three, that is national, state and local level, and has a total of 49 federations. The Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports is a branch of Government of India. In 2008, MYAS, that is Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, was divided into two, which is SAI, Sports Authority of India, and State Government. The training of elite athlete management support teams division support the National Sports Federation in preparing national teams for international events like Olympics. The stakeholders which are involved at the different levels are at national levels, MYAS, SAI and Indian Olympic Associations are involved. At state level, State Sports Federation and State Olympic Association is involved. At local level, district or other sport associations are involved. Talking about the funding, the government has its annual budget for participation sports and for elite sports in India. In the year 2021-22 budget, INR 443 crore or GBP 437 was allocated for sports development, resulting to an 18.1% increase in the government budget as compared to the previous year. In the year 2018, Target Olympic Podium Scheme assessed medal contenders in high priority sports with a funding of 100 crore or 1 lakh GBP. Finally, in 2019, MYAS established 20 national centers for excellence to prepare athletes for 2024 Paris and for 2028 Los Angeles Olympics and Paralympics. Each center funds up to 4 to 6 sports training development group of athletes for 2024 Olympics. Khelo India, a great initiative by Indian government, Launched in 2018, and since then, over 10 million students participated in the Khelo India Youth Games. Its aim is to develop grassroots talent, and it reaches millions of school children, promoting physical fitness and sports participation. It has a budget of $350 billion, and currently India has over hundreds of sports facilities that are set to meet the international standards. There is a Khelo India for Women also, which focus on gender equality and encouraging female participation. Although the uneven implementation of policies by state and lack of funding are some of the challenges which prevents the country's sports infrastructure and programs for developing on a fairly to a national scale. These slides present the summary of key findings from the previous slides. It has to be noted that in India, sports scene is diverse but struggles with problems like lack of facilities and not enough money and weak management. And because of the poverty also, the focus is on fixing these issues rather than investing more in sports. And big name sports get more support, leaving the smaller sports and new athletes behind, which is not fair. Now we will do the policy analysis using this PLIS model, which is a theoretical framework used to understand sports policy factors, mostly used by countries worldwide. There are 9 pillars, but in the context of India's sports policy, it uses only 6 key pillars. Pillar 1, financial support provided by the National Sports Development Fund, and although the fund has fallen from 57 to 49% in 2016, and only 8% of it is used towards the special coaching for athletes. Pillar 2 is the governance, organization and the structure of sports policy. There are concerns about the effectiveness and the transparency of the organization under this. For example, nepotism was found in Indian Olympic Association, including some non-Olympic bodies. They did so in order to get votes controlled by the political parties. Pillar 3 is the foundation and participation. It consists of grassroots level of initiatives such as Khelo India, which we already discussed in the previous slide. Moving on to Pillar 4, which is performance. SAI established training center for nurturing talents at elite level. But sadly, India's success is limited to sports such as hockey and cricket mostly. There is a lack of sports policy framework to address challenges competing on a global stage. Moving on to Pillar 5, excellence or post-career stage. It reflects the gap in athletes' support system in long term and after retirement. For example, Olympic boxer Dinko Singh gets no financial support during the last stage of his career after retirement. Last, Pillar 6, training facilities, which is a provision also provides a link between participation and excellence. There's a financial constraints at macro, micro and meso levels, which we will see in the further slides. Moving on to mass participation and elite participation, which has got much recognition from programs like Khelo India, which we discussed earlier. In 2001, India's sports policy decided to achieve 2 goals. Number 1, encouraging widespread participation in sports and achieving excellence at elite level. And for that, TOPS was introduced, but later it also faced criticism for potential funding disparities and neglect of grassroots development. The development of robust sports facilities and venues like stadium, however, does not ensure equitable access to all the regions. Thereby, it widens the gap of sports between the urban and the rural areas. On this slide, we will go deeper into the existing policy debates between the mass participation and elite participation. There are the struggles between improving the participation of people at the grassroots and spending on the elite athletes development at the same time. There has always been this debate about the policies that has been criticized for overemphasizing on elite sports success over community level sports, and they fail to strike a right balance between them, and it's still an ongoing challenge. Moving on to the analysis and adoption of policies in India. By supporting federations and fostering public-private partnership, policymakers can enhance talent development, infrastructure, and athlete support. Analyzing existing programs and leveraging private sector contributions can inform effective policy adoption. Sports policy operates within a complex ecosystem impacting athletes, organizations, and society at large. The analysis closely examines sports policy through macro, micro, and meso levels. The failures that are often observed at the international levels are mainly because of the sports model governance that are present in India. At the level of governance, there is high level of corruption which is present alongside the transparency being bare rare minimum. And inadequate funding is common at all the 3 levels. These are some of the examples of politics in Indian sports policy. There has been criticism that has been received in terms of cricket being given the top priority because political interference is observed by BCCI. The Times of India 2020 reported that a major scam during India's hosting Commonwealth Games is observed, and the Indian Sports Association also faced suspension due to the elected members with criminal backgrounds. As per Chinoy, sports associations are sometimes exploited for political gains, diverting resources from genuine sources. Now, what are the challenges and barriers to participatory and elite sports? Khelo India Youth Games introduce sports leagues to increase participation, and it is criticized for not identifying talented athletes and giving a fair chance to India's vast talent pool. Challenges include administrative issues affecting sports like hockey, cultural and social barriers for women, only 30% participation in any sports is observed, and marginalized group, and insufficient financial resources. Inconsistent government policy applications further complicates the matter. For example, TOPS Target Olympic Podium Scheme, who give assistance to Olympic and Paralympic Games preparation, is criticized for being major part of the budget going to not only a few athletes and leaving the others in very rare financial assistance. So here is some of the few examples of the recent development of sports in India. So Indian sports policy has shown a growth of 49% in 2022 with emerging sports share rising to 15%. There are $2.2 billion of opportunity that is presented in the sports sector of infrastructure. Recently, Neeraj Chopra's achievement include gold medals at Olympics and other championships. Some of the future developments are also happening. For example, the sports city of Vishakhapatnam has a sports infrastructure project to be completed by 1st August 2024 with a valuation of $129 million. Some of the recommendations to solve the policy issues are: to tackle micro-level sports policy issues, sports policies should be flexible and adaptive for both elite and mass level participation. It should be able to solve the disparities and bridge the gap between the two. For example, government can increase investment. For example, strengthening Khelo India school games and talent identification. In order to address gender inequality, government should promote sports culture and education through media campaigns. For micro-level sports policy, career development pathways should be enhanced through integrating talent identification, coaching, sports science, and career sports for athletes should be done. To address meso level, government should work on strengthening the relationship between the government and the private businesses to ensure engagement in sports programs and financial support. There should be a collaborative governance model which established a unified governance framework with representation from government, private sector, community stakeholders for effective policy implementation. By addressing these key areas, India can unlock its immense sporting potential, promote active lifestyle, and nurture a new generation of elite athletes and inspirational role models. The conclusion says that India's sports policy has been criticized for underperforming at elite levels despite its rich sporting heritage. Government initiatives like Khelo India aim to promote talent growth and inclusion, but a holistic approach is needed to balance mass participation and elite success. The country has covered only 6 out of 9 pillars from the SPIS model, highlighting the need for continued research and evidence-based policy making. Politics in India's sports policy is dragging the sports ecosystem behind. The presentation critically analyzes India as a sports policy addressing challenges and providing recommendations, and implementing them can help India become a global power. This slide represents previous personal reflection. The rationale for selecting India's sports policy is clearly stated at the beginning, which is driven by the curiosity to understand various aspects such as infrastructure, funding, etc. The SPLIS model is academically justified, providing a structured approach for the analysis. The critical analysis both pros and cons of elite sports in India, supported by the academic literature and key findings from other sources, is done. The presentation structure is well organized and each slide is explained thoroughly. New topics like Khelo India case study and politics in Indian sports policy are also included. Slide count is optimized, and the YouTube video link enhances accessibility. Overall, significant improvements are made, fostering a deeper understanding of India's sports policy. Finally, coming on to personal reflection. This personal reflection highlights several key takeaways, opinions, and suggestions regarding India's sports policy. First of all, key takeaways. The reflection identifies flaws in India's sports policy, including governance issues, which has lowered the India's national sporting performance. Despite initiatives, challenges like inadequate infrastructure and low funding still exist. Number two, opinions. The reflection expresses concerns about shortcomings of India's sports policy, emphasizing the need for improvement to address these challenges effectively. It highlights the importance of recognizing and rectifying issues such as funding deficiencies and governance problems to enhance country's sporting landscape. Number third, moving on to suggestions. To address identify issue, the reflection proposes practical solutions. It suggests employing frameworks like the SPLIS model to pinpoint the weakness in sports policy framework. It provides recommendations that directly link to discussion, further giving us a clear understanding of the loopholes to work on. Thank you for listening to me patiently.